it's me. It's time to lay aside the fear of the unknown. Pick up and move away from what I've always done. This faith is growing legs and walking on its own, and I'm not sure where it's gonna go. All I know is I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, pinning all my hopes on one dream, laying it all on the line, risking everything. I have to take a flying leap of faith in a round, no room for indecision. Got lay out a long runway to aim high. Hello, welcome to Adventurous Spirits. This is a new song that I am taking out for a test drive for the first time. So I am mirroring the title of today's episode, which is The Leap of Faith. This is episode 41. And I want to welcome you, whether you feel like you're in the midst of as much adventure as you can handle, or whether your spirit dreams of more adventures yet to come. Because we all, in the course of our lives, get in each of those places. My name's Courtney Matz. I will be your host today, serenading you through the ups and downs of this particular adventure that we're on. And sometimes it's just a leap of faith. Sometimes you know where you're going, you're not sure how you're going to get there. And sometimes it doesn't seem like much of a leap at all, but then there's other surprises that come at you in the process. So let's talk about it today. I'd love to hear your stories. I'll tell you some of mine. But meanwhile, I hope you enjoy this new song. It's not even totally finished yet, and I will be referencing my notes as I play it because there's one or two parts of it that are so new that I don't remember how to play them every single time. But this song is called Leap of Faith. Leap of Faith. And there always is a leap of faith in sharing a new song. The leap of faith of, will people resonate with this? Will they enjoy it? Will I remember it? Will I do it justice? So let's find out. What do we have to lose? Scary, it's hard to see how all of this will end. No way to know what's waiting just around the bend. Faith sticks around when everything looks like a mess. And one day it will all make sense. One day it will all make sense. But until then, I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, pinning all my hopes on one dream, laying it all on the line, risking everything. I'm risking everything. Doesn't seem very bright, but it's exciting. Gotta get out of my way. Find out what I'm made of. What I'm made of. Go try, go try, go try. Otherwise, it's all in my mind. My favorite thing about creating is that first inspiration, that first big idea that just sort of carries you away with it. And just imagining what would it be like for this thing to exist in the world. And then you start doing it. You start making that thing a reality. And that part can be a little tricky. I read this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson recently about how ambition is really tested by work. Because the first idea just kind of comes to you, and that's exciting, but then you have to do the work to actually make it happen, to bring it into fulfillment. And sometimes that work means my first attempt needs some more attention. My first attempt is fine, but it's not what I actually had in mind. Sometimes that work means my 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th attempt is still not quite hitting the mark. So there's a lot of work involved in creating, in adventure, in doing whatever it is that you want to do with your life. But the most fun part of it is thinking of it, which doesn't require much work at all. Unless it's the work of ideating, where you take an existing idea and you stew on it and you look at it from different angles. That's still work, but it's still pretty low risk. So the leap of faith moment is when you recognize, in order to take the next step on this thing that I want to do, this big idea that has captivated my imagination, I'm going to have to lose some things, or I'm going to have to risk losing some things. So this song was actually born 12 years ago. And I still haven't finished it because I couldn't quite find an ending that I liked. But now I have been thinking about it a lot, especially these last 3 or 4 months or so, and recognizing I've now tested some of the theories in this song. I've tested them more fully. So let me talk more about that after that later. Let me finish what I'm telling you now, which is that this song came to me actually while I was driving home from my job, that I knew it was time for me to leave that job. Nothing against the job. It was a lovely place to work, lovely people, had a lot of opportunities through it. But I had been there for 11 years, and I knew that I wanted long-term to figure out my own thing. That I wanted to be more independent, that I wanted to be able to know that I could come up with an idea and then put the funding around it and make it happen. And it seemed like as long as I had the security of that job, I wasn't going to move forward on that dream. So even though it didn't feel very bright to step away from it, because it was a reasonable income for where I was in my career, and it was good work, and theoretically I had the spare time to go and figure out these other things, to learn how to be an entrepreneur, to start small, and to build something more stable that I could then graduate into. I just wasn't doing it. Guys, I just wasn't doing it. I knew the things that I could be doing, should be doing, and I just wasn't. And I kind of felt like in order to progress, I need that pressure of like, I have to figure it out. Like this is my job right now, is figuring this out. And so after weighing the cost benefit, excuse me, I have a bit of some congestion today. After weighing that, after sitting with what am I actually risking by taking this leap, versus what kind of excitement and fun am I opening myself up to by taking this leap? Because there's something about that too, when you actually are released from the responsibilities that have been keeping you from doing the thing you really want to do. And now you get to do this all the time, but then also you get to figure out how to make a living at this all the time. Now what? So I wouldn't say that this is like the perfect plan for everybody. But 12 years later, I can say it was effective for me. I made a lot more progress in my freelancing and in my entrepreneurship than I had previously. And part of that was just being in a position where I had to learn how to pitch. I had to learn how to make relationships. I had to learn how to do business on a whole other level because I didn't have that ground underneath me anymore. This is just my story. So take away from it whatever applies to you. So where was I going with that? So I was telling you about the decision to, and this is just the beginning of the song that started coming to me as I'm grappling with the reality of this decision. Having been at a job for 11 years, having a degree of success in that job and a degree of interest, but then knowing just in general in life, I wasn't feeling challenged. I was busy, I was working a lot, but I wasn't, I don't know, just whatever I had been looking for, I wasn't finding. And so I kind of needed to change some things, and that meant letting go of stuff that I didn't know. Is this the thing to let go of? And hoping, trusting that anything that really should stick would still be there, that I would be able to come back to it, or just realize I need to find another version of this. And I think that is a big part of a faith leap, recognizing how much safety can I have? How much safety do I need? And I wound up going part-time for the first year and a half or so. I was part-time, so I was still making some income as I was shifting into this new path that was unformed and really had much less of a plan than I would have preferred. But I'm glad that I had that opportunity to just try it, But those words are that's really how I felt. This faith is growing legs. It's just going somewhere. I don't know where it's going, but it's attached to me, and so I better follow it. Because I can't be in one place while my faith is going off somewhere else. I can't really do that. That's not physically possible. I have to follow it. And 12 years later, I can say, no regrets, which is kind of amazing. Sure, there are some things I would have done differently, but I wouldn't have had the opportunity or the desire or the context to know that I needed to do those things differently, right? I wrestle with myself in this way sometimes, where it feels like I have to give myself the permission to mess up a lot. I can't really just have the plan figured out in advance. I don't know if anyone else is like that. Do you feel like you just kind of need to figure things out as you go, or are you much more methodical and you like to have a plan and then follow the plan? It's not like I don't plan at all. Let me not paint myself in that kind of whatever kind of light, because that's really not who I am. But I need to have the mindset that this plan needs to be adaptable as circumstances give me new information, as new data is revealed. The things that I think are going to work out sometimes don't. And then other times there are things that I have zero faith for that just show up. And so I've got to be open to those shifts and changes. So I think there's a lot of benefit to recognizing risk. Risk is involved in everything, whether we change or stay the same. I think most of you know that there is no real staying the same in life, because the world is constantly changing. And so I keep coming back to this. It's time to lay aside the fear of the unknown. it's done. This faith is growing legs and walking on its own, and I'm not sure where it's gonna go. And I have to say, this song is going to be recorded soon. Maybe not today, but it'll be recorded soon for my Patreon subscribers. And having a core group of people to support and help me through the ups and downs of creating and the unknowns of artist life is really, really good. So if you'd like to be one of those supporters, I encourage you to go check out patreon.com/CourtneyMatz, know you and Courtney, and just get along on the journey, be part of what goes into these songs. And there's a few member subscriber perks that go along with it as well. But if you're tuning in either live or later on the replay, I hope you'll tell me some of your experiences with a leap of faith. Is there anything you would have done differently? Would you have taken it sooner? Would you have built in more of a support system around you for the process? Let's see what Steve says. Steve says, I sometimes try to figure things out in advance, but they never go according to plan anyway, so might as well just go with the flow, deal with things as they come. Deal with things as they come. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. Because really all planning is just, here's an outline of what I think will happen. And I think in general, it makes me feel more supported to have a plan, but then leave some white space. Recognize there are some gaps of things that I don't know, and so I'm going to fill those in as I go. And then I'm going to reevaluate. Does it still make sense to go to this next step in the plan? A tiny case in point is that I was facilitating a mystery game last night. That's another thing that I do in addition to music and creative coaching, is I create mystery games. And so it's Halloween season right now as I'm recording this. So I had a couple of shows last night, and one group was very quiet. One group, it was actually the bigger of the two groups. They were shy about showing their faces. This was on Zoom. And they just needed a lot of facilitating, a lot of guidance, a lot of kind of scripted elements. And then the second group was much more vocal, had a lot more ideas about what should be happening. And both of those groups just needed a different plan. I have a format and sort of not a full-on script, but like an outline that I follow, so I can keep us on track and try to wrap up around the right time as advertised. But I just needed to adapt the way that I was guiding them because they needed different types of information, and they needed it at different times and in different ways. The first group needed more like direct, specific instruction, and the second group needed a little more open-ended, what do you think we should do? And they were actively resisting the stuff that I was saying to them. So I had to ask more questions like, oh, what do you suggest instead? Don't just disrupt, but come up with a new path. Don't just say no, but like, what's your yes? So that's how I think about planning, is to have some sort of a general idea. I'm doing this a lot, I'm realizing. Have a general idea of how I think things might go and what I might do to encourage them along the direction I'm going, but then be open to adapting as things are changing and as they're happening. Let me see if I can find that Ralph Waldo. I'm having a hard time saying his name today. Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, because I think I stumbled upon it totally by accident, and I really like it. because I think it succinctly summarizes, I should say, our experience of ambition and work and finding the treasure at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold. So Ralph Waldo Emerson is a writer. He was a writer and poet, and he said, "Without ambition, one starts nothing. Without work, one finishes nothing. The prize will not be sent to you. You have to win it." And I'm really glad I found that quote, because I wasn't looking for it specifically. I was trying to remember something else, and I was trying to think of a book on ambition that has a bunch of essays in it. And I knew I had read one essay by an author who even now his name escapes me, Eugene Peterson. But the only name I could think of was Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I was just like, well, maybe this is a sign to go and look up, and what does Ralph Waldo Emerson say about ambition? And that's the first quote that came up in Forbes quotes. I have not done due diligence to see in what context he said that, but I think the words speak for themselves, and I definitely have experienced that ambition just gets things started. It's just that shiny, sparkly beginning of a thing. It's the work that is the real thing, and that's where the idea becomes manifest. It gets into the world, it gets out of our imaginations and into physicality, into a place where other people can see and experience it and have opinions about it. Those opinions that sometimes are tough to take, but other times are a real joy to see how people respond to what it is that we have imagined into being. Steve says, many of my leaps of faith boil down to, let's do a show. Something completely different from what I've done before, generally bigger and more complicated and often more expensive. My leap of faith shows have never been financially successful, but they're always amazing experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. Yeah, so that sounds to me, Steve, like no regrets from you either. Which is kind of interesting, because when I think about taking a leap of faith, my main concern is regret. My main fear is that I will lose so much in that leap that it will negate any potential benefits of taking it. I really want to be honest about that. I want to be straightforward about that, because I think it's important that we grapple with that feeling, but also recognize we have a good amount of track record to say we don't have any regrets. All the leaps of faith that we've taken so far, it's not like everything worked out happily ever after, but we didn't lose anything that later we're like, I wish I'd never done that. I think that's instructive. I think there's something to take away from that realization. And that might be a good exercise for anyone who's considering a leap of faith today. Just consider your last 10, 15 years of life. Is there what big steps have you taken? And what good things have you gotten out of it? Have you lost anything that was irreplaceable? I will say that 12 years later, as an independent creator, I have yet to recoup the kind of income that I had, which may have kept me out of certain ways that my life may have gone. And the only regret that I have about that is I wish I had gotten a little vulnerable and a little smart sooner. I wish I had asked more questions of people around me who were were doing it, who were, having their own businesses. But even then, all that I can learn from them is what they did. There's still that aspect of the rubber meets the road where I have to put it into practice for myself and learn what I can do. So, mixed reviews on the how, but the what of actually taking the leap, no regrets. I think I'm actually going to try that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I will actually revisit my leaps and what I got out of them. So I want to play you a couple more songs along this topic because I think it takes a lot of guts to step out and try things that we haven't done before. And for guts, we need music. Right? Got our Go Get 'em playlist. So here are a couple songs that I've written along those lines. And let's see, I think this one's... There we go. Daydreams for a day job. This goes with the work part of that quote. I've got so much to do. I've got so much to do. Weighing my every move. So much I've yet to prove, and they're all singing. Go on now, honey, get your game face on. Go pound the pavement, show us what you're capable of. Go on now, darling, pick up those bases. It's way too soon to cash in daydreams for a day job. I've got so far to go, still a long road to hoe. Feels like I'm moving slow. So much I still don't know, and they keep singing. Go on now, honey, get your game face on. Go pound the pavement, show us what you're capable of. Go on now, darling, pick up those paces. It's way too soon to cash in all your dreams, and the tyranny of the urgent is chasing me, impressing the weight of my responsibilities. So much to do, and I'm still singing. Go on now, honey, pick up those paces. It's way too soon to cash in daydreams for a day job. I think it can be helpful in coaching ourselves through these leaps to remember our dreams for ourselves when we were younger, when we had less awareness of the risks involved with our choices, and when we just hoped for things. Also, these leaps of faith are not confined just to career and basic life choices. It's also to do with relationships and love and romance. And I'm sure lots of us have those stories as well. So here is a song, a newish song that I just released last month called Darlin'. If I can remember what key it starts in. Darling, I'm waiting for you. I'm looking for you. Thought I'd have a clue by now, but darling, you're worth waiting for. You're worth looking for. And when you finally come around, I'll be here. Some folks talk about each other badly, like they just don't care. Like they just don't care. And that's what I don't want for us, so darling, I'm praying for you. I'm working towards you. Thought we'd have a kid or two by now, but darling, that's worth praying for. That's worth working toward. And when it finally comes around, I'll be here. Seems so easy just to give up hope and go off asking why. Such a bitter cry. I know it's not just up to us, so darling, I'm waiting on him. I'm looking to him. And my Lord knows what we need right now, so darling, you're worth waiting for. You're worth looking for. And at just the right time, I'll be here. Wherever you are in your walk of faith journey, whether it's a leap of faith, whether it's a staying still of faith, whether it's a contemplating all of the staying still and the leaps that requires faith, I wish you a boost in your confidence and your ability to know what you want for your life, and supportive people around you to help you find your way in it. And I hope to be one of those supportive people in your journey, because we all are in it. We all are in it, and nobody exactly knows where they're heading. So as we go out there together with our adventurous selves, I wish you all the best and the ability to pause and reflect and enjoy it once in a while. Have fun out there.